Hi everyone, my name is Rachel and today I'm going to show you how to make a DIY subscription box. So I've been browsing online and seeing a lot of like the Bunnies That Lunch, Happy Bunny Club, Happy Bunny Box. One of those, I forget, Happy Bunny Club, I think, and Binks Box. And while those are awesome options to get for your bunny for Christmas, not everyone can afford them. So I thought that I would show you just some toys that you can make that are kind of Christmas themed, that are more DIY, and just kind of how you can make your own DIY subscription box. So this is what it looks like, the final product of what I made, and I'm going to show you how to make all of them. So I'm just going to go over everything and then explain how to make it. So the first one I have is these little snowflakes, and basically you can just tie it on the side of your cage and it'll just be really cute and your bunnies can chew on it. It's totally safe for them, and also since it's not completely flat, it's kind of fun for them to chew on. So I thought this was really cute. You can obviously make it longer. I only made mine 3 snowflakes long, but you can make it as long as you want. But this is just a really cute little decoration. Alright, so to make these snowflakes, you're only going to need 2 things, sisal rope and craft paper. I actually have craft paper in the form of a like wrapping paper roll, just because it's cheaper that way and it works, but normal craft paper works fine as well. So yeah, I just have some sisal rope. You could also use jute rope as well. So I'm gonna start off by cutting squares that are about the size that I want the snowflakes to be. So you can just see I'm gonna cut a square here and then some other ones. They don't have to be the same size or anything. It just kind of depends on whatever you want. And also it doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna make sure it's an exact square when we do this here. So I just folded it diagonally, and then I'm just gonna cut off the excess. Just like that. And that's just gonna make sure that it's a nice square for me. So you can see I just have the diagonal fold. And I'm actually gonna refold it diagonally and then fold it again. And then this is a little bit of a tricky part. You're just folding the corners over, so you have to watch this a couple times, then I understand. I also just looked up how to make snowflakes online, so you could also look that up too if you want to have a specific design or something like that. And I just turned it over and you can see there's a little crease there. I'm just holding it there, yeah. So you're gonna cut above the crease. And then you're going to basically make whatever design you want. I really wouldn't worry too much about it making it perfect. It's gonna look good no matter what. I think, in my opinion. So I just am basically just cutting some random shapes on the side here. So some triangles, some half circles, different things like that. And if it doesn't turn out right, I mean, you can always try again, but I think usually they end up turning out well. There also is some actual patterns. So if you want it to turn out a certain way, you can look up how to make snowflakes online and you can find some actual patterns, but I wasn't too worried about that just because I think they look good no matter what. So here I am opening the snowflake. You can see what the final product looks like. And now I'm gonna fast forward while I do the rest of the snowflakes. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take some sisal rope, and like I said before, you can also use jute rope. Just make sure it's either 100% jute or 100% sisal, or even the seagrass rope, you could use that. You just wanna use some kind of rope that if the bunny digests it or ingests it, sorry, you wanna make sure that's safe for them. So I'm basically just tying the snowflakes on. This is really simple, and just tying a knot so then they stay and making it into a banner. So this is what the final product looks like. Like I said, I only did 3 snowflakes, but you can totally do more than that. You could line your whole cage with it. You could do whatever you want. Obviously, the more snowflakes you take, the more time it's gonna take, but I'm also just showing you can do like a little slip knot at the end if you wanna kind of hook it on a hook or something, or you could just tie it to the cage, whatever works best for you. And then the next thing, this is really just like a really basic toy. And if you've seen any like DIY bunny toy videos, you've probably seen a toy like this. It's just a paper tube roll with some hay in it, but bunnies love it, so I included it in this just because I feel like it's just a favorite by so many bunnies. So this is definitely the easiest toy to make. Just take a paper tube roll and stuff it with hay, preferably treat hay or your bunny's favorite hay, but you can do whatever. You could also put some herbs or foraging mix in there as well, and that's what it looks like. The next toy I have is a little hay wreath. So this is made out of completely hay, sisal rope, and just some burlap. So I thought this turned out really adorable. So what you're going to need to make this hay wreath is some burlap fabric. I have it cut just in about 1 inch length. The one that I cut actually wasn't long enough, so make sure you cut a pretty decently sized one. And then also you're gonna need lots of hay, preferably your bunny's favorite hay once again, and some sisal rope. So what I'm doing here is just bunching the hay, and then I'm going to take the sisal rope and make a little knot around it. Then what I'm gonna do is just start wrapping the sisal rope around the hay. So I always wanna make sure there's about 2 inches on the end. And then I just grab some more hay, kind of stuff it in there, and then wrap more sisal rope around it. And you'll see I just continue doing this until I have a pretty decently long thing of hay, and then that's what I'm gonna use to curve into the hay wreath. So now I'm just going over this again and wrapping more sisal rope all around it. I know it can be kind of hard to see, I'm sorry, just because there's a lot of hay, but I'm basically just wrapping more sisal rope around the hay just to give it a little bit more support. And now is when I'm going to bend it. So after I have more support, I'm just gonna bend it here, and then I'm going to cut a pretty decently long piece of sisal rope, and I'm just going to kind of wrap like crazy around that part because that's gonna be the most sensitive area where it could break. So I'm just gonna do lots of wraps around there just to make sure it has lots of support and it won't just fall apart. And then once I'm finished, I'm just gonna tuck it into one of the strings, the loose end, and then just make a little knot. Finally, I'm taking the burlap. I actually had to cut a longer string because the first one I cut wasn't long enough, and I'm just going to weave it into one of the wraparounds, like one of the twine, and then just make a bow. The next toy I have is a little tree, a little cardboard tree, so you can just kind of stand this up wherever in their cage, and it just looks really decorative and it's really cute. So for this, I'm just going to cut a piece of cardboard in the shape of a tree. I'm using scissors that are especially good for cardboard, which I highly recommend because it makes it a lot easier, but you can also use normal scissors. Also, if you're a kid, make sure you have adult supervision with this because sometimes it can be a little hard to cut the cardboard, and I just want to make sure no one gets hurt. So this is what the end looks like, and basically we're just going to cut an exact replica of this. So I'm just going to trace this with an X-Acto knife, but if you're a kid, probably don't use an X-Acto knife, or if you're not used to using an X-Acto knife, probably don't do that. You can also trace with pen, just make sure that you cut off all of the ink. So now that I have it traced, you can see there's just kind of a little outline of it. I'm gonna go in with my cardboard scissors and just cut out the shape. So now I am just going to cut out the rest of the tree, just following the lines that I already made. And now I have 2 identical trees. And now I'm just going to cut little slits so the cardboard can fit in between them. And I'm just gonna cut about halfway. I ended up having to cut a little bit farther than I did in this picture, so I cut a little bit farther than halfway. And yeah, that's it. Oh, and then do the same thing on the other one, except do that from the top. So now I'm just maneuvering the two slits together and putting the cardboard together, and then that's your tree. But the next toy I have is kind of similar to the paper tube roll. You would see this in like any DIY bunny toy video, but I wanted to include it because bunnies love it, and it's just a paper bag filled with hay and then kind of some cut marks around it so they can smell the hay, but they love destroying these. So for this, you're just going to need some hay, a paper bag, some scissors, some foraging mix. I have the Vitalicious Essentials as well as some sisal rope. The Vitalicious Essentials is from Small Pet Select. This is not sponsored or anything. I just really like them because they give whole foods in their herbs and they don't add a bunch of extra crap to it. So that's definitely something that's really healthy. And then I'm just going to take the bag and stuff it with hay and the Vitalicious Essentials. And I actually lost some footage, but basically you're just going to tie it shut with some sisal rope and then just make some cut marks in the bag so your bunny can smell it. The next thing is this little hay banner. So this is a second banner, and this is made out of different types of hay. So I think I have like oat hay, orchard grass hay, Timothy meadow hay, a bunch of different stuff in here. And you can hang this up and then your bunnies can chew on it. So for this, you're just gonna need some sisal rope, a scissors, and some different types of hay. I have some Timothy meadow hay, some orchard grass, botanical, and oat hay. And now I'm just taking a pretty long piece of string. And then I'm just going to basically bunch the hay similar to what I did with a hay wreath and then just tie a knot around it. And I'm gonna do that the same way and just try to space them out about evenly across, and then I'll have 4 little bunches of hay on my banner. Then this is the final product. And finally, last but not least, I have this little candy cane, which is just made out of paper bags and sisal rope. Okay, so you're just basically going to take a paper bag and cut off the end of it, just like this. And then I open the paper bag and then crinkle it back up just because it crinkles a little bit better when you open it first. And then I'm just going to bend it into the shape of a candy cane. Then once I'm finished shaping it into a candy cane, I'm gonna take some sisal rope and I'm going to tie a little knot around the end of it, and you'll see I kind of slide it down. I want it to be pretty close to the end. I can always trim some off if I need to, but you definitely want it to be pretty close to the end, and definitely make sure you do a knot. And then I'm just going to wrap it around and continue wrapping a bunch of times, making sure that I keep it in the shape of a candy cane as I'm wrapping. Once I've wrapped it a bunch of times, I'm just gonna wrap it around the loop, and then I'm going to go around. This is just gonna keep it in the candy cane shape. And then once I've done that about twice, I can just wrap it around all the way one more time. And then this is how I end it. I'm just going to make a little snip and just tuck it into the rest of the rope. I guess it's not technically last because I decided to make the box that I put the toys in as a hidey house. So if you actually see, there's some hay in here, so it's probably gonna come down, but it's fine, I'll vacuum afterwards. But this is what the hidey house looks like. So I actually made it into a corner hidey house because they have a lot of normal ones. Since bunnies like to dig, I would recommend maybe putting a seagrass mat or some fleece underneath it. But yeah, so this turned out really cute.